Now we're going to look at what the burst looks like after the cross is on. It is centered here. And on the other side, I've cut away the unnecessary fabric. Always put your hand underneath so you do not cut the fabric, and trim around like so. That'll be the burst. We'll come back to that after. This is the chalice, and here is the cross. If you put it too far up, if there's a short chalice, then the cross will end up being too high. So I like to put it closer down so I don't run into that problem. And the same thing on the back. We're going to trim around the cross, putting your hand underneath, clipping it. And I like to keep this, I want it to be attached to the trim at the bottom. So I don't cut it all the way around the cross. To give it a little more stability. We'll come back to that also later. Here's the back of the chasuble. As you see, I put the stitching here. You don't need to be a big stitch, just to hold this in place so it doesn't shift and bunch up. You don't want it to bunch up, but you need it to hold the banding in place so it doesn't buckle. That's the main reason why you put that in, so it doesn't buckle. This pattern was a nice one. I was able to put this cross on very easily just following the marks of the pattern, which was great. And this is where the cross is going to be placed. I haven't attached it yet, as you can see, but that looks good. I'm happy with that. If you have a bigger emblem, you may want to try something like this. We don't necessarily need it on this one. You would need at least an extra 3/4 of a yard to do this cross here as opposed to the other one. I determine the width of the cross in between, depending on the pattern, depending on the emblem. You can have a pattern already made out of cardboard if you want. Since we know the fabric is straight because we use the ribbons, remember? If this pattern did not have this nice design that I was able to follow, which is great. See these lines here? I was able to follow them all the way up, and as well on this side I used this one here, which was quite convenient. If not, you can take the ribbons. Oh, this was the wrong way. Put it up here on this side, like this, over here. Coming down, and like so. And you could double check to make sure that they're even by using a ruler. This is a quilting ruler. You could use that and make sure that it's straight. Or you could go back, excuse me, and use the T-square to make sure that this is straight. Like this. I'll double check that before I sew that on. And I will base this on first. So a lot of the trims have a lot of give this way. And so when you go to lay it down and sew it on the machine, they'll move. And so this one might be fine. When you get to the other side to sew it, it'll shift on you. So make sure you baste it in place. And you'll see it again after I've done that. Oh, I know. I'm going to show you the corners. When you place the trim on here, you're going down. I'll take this off for you. You go down. When you come to the edge of where your ribbon is, you're going to fold it and come this way. You fold it and then turn it in and pin it, double checking it after you're done. So when you come down, oh, This side is good, it folds correctly, but this side will fold the opposite way since you're going in the other direction. So what you need to do, take this little corner, fold it down, and if it's not quite straight, just take your scissors or something and make sure that this is straight so these corners are nice and square. So you're going to have them both at this angle, and you're going to decide at the top, do you want the angles to be like this or like this? I like them the opposite way, like this. And you can do it, so you're going to got them like this here, so you're going to want to have them like this here. You're going to have to make sure that they're all turned the opposite way. Always have to double check. Once you have all the corners, I'm going to have to fix this one. Once you have the corners all in the same way, you want it to go like this, okay? You want it to turn like this, you may choose to do that, but have them all the same. Have all four corners the same. Have these coming out like this one like this, and as well as the bottom. I've already done this one. It's like this. So it's all symmetrical when your eyes look at it, and then I will go back down and I will tack all the corners down so they don't move when I'm sewing. And I'll come back to this when I have that all done. Now we're back to the chalice. I have placed the trim around the edge of the chalice veil, and I have turned the corners so that they are facing this way at the bottom and also along the top. I started over in this corner here and come down and go around because this corner here will be very bulky, and you'll see in a minute why. And in order to get it straight on the corners, make sure that edging is straight. I put this on top and look at the pattern underneath to see if it is relatively straight all the way around. Sometimes when you cut it, it's a little crooked because the fabric is very flimsy. This one's pretty good. And to double check the corners, I use the T-bar and adjust it accordingly. I put the T-bar in each corner and make sure that the corners were nice and flush. Now here's what we do to the last corner. This one that we start out with gets folded almost even to the edge. This other one is folded at the edge, turned, and then turned under again because we want it at this angle. Put it down in the corner. Take this one that we folded and tuck it into here. Takes a little working with the fingers to get it. And then use your T-square to make sure that corner looks pretty good. And then tack it right here, because you're going to have to put the lining in between here. So you're only going to sew the trim right along this edge, all the way around, tacking the corners first. And I'll show it to you when I'm done. We are back now to the chalice veil. I placed the trim all around the chalice veil, starting in the upper left-hand corner and coming down and going all the way around. And if you place the T-bar into the corners, you'll get them as close as you can. They'll be a lot better than if you use your eye. A lot of times your eye is deceiving. and you'll find out if the trim is on properly straight as well. You can put the pattern on top, and it will help with the edging to see if it's relatively straight. If the fabric is pretty flimsy, the edging will be quite crooked. We made sure that the corners are in at an angle like this at the bottom and like this at the top. Double check all the corners using your T-square. Now we're going to do the last corner. Going to take the edge of the trim here, fold it under, place it to the corner. Now take the other piece. I extended about 1 inch. You can always cut it, whatever you don't need later. Fold this one in, then take this piece, fold it along the edge of the trim, like this. Take this one and tuck it in between. Place it down. And then you're going to tack it right here. You should tack all the corners as well so they don't move. And then you'll stitch right along the edge here, on the inside edge, because the lining will get tucked under here later. And I'll show you that when I'm done.